Graveyards, by their very nature, are places where silence hangs heavy in the air, and the past seems to whisper through the wind. While most cemeteries are solemn grounds of rest, there are some places where the dead don't seem to rest so easily. These haunted graveyards around the world have left many visitors shaken, with chilling encounters that linger long after they leave. Here are 10 haunted graveyards that will make even the bravest among us think twice before visiting after dark. 1. Highgate Cemetery, London, England. Highgate Cemetery is not only famous for being the final resting place of Karl Marx, but also for its eerie reputation. Since the 1960s, reports of a shadowy figure known as the Highgate Vampire have surfaced. Witnesses describe a tall, dark figure with hypnotic eyes who haunts the cemetery at night. Visitors often report feelings of being watched, and some have even fainted after encountering this unsettling presence. Even Bram Stoker's Dracula was inspired by this cemetery, as it captures the quintessential Gothic horror vibe. Could it be that Stoker knew something we don't? 2. St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, New Orleans, USA. New Orleans is a city steeped in mystery and voodoo, and nowhere is that more apparent than in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. This cemetery is the resting place of the famous voodoo queen, Marie Laveau, whose spirit is believed to still wander the graves. Tourists often leave offerings at her tomb, and there have been many reports of ghostly sightings and strange occurrences. Laveau's ghost is said to bless or curse those who visit her grave, depending on how they treat her resting place. The city's rich culture and eerie folklore make this cemetery a must-visit for those seeking an otherworldly experience. 3. La Recoleta Cemetery, Buenos Aires, Argentina. With its elaborate mausoleums and angelic statues, La Recoleta Cemetery is one of the most beautiful in the world. However, it's also one of the most haunted. The most famous ghost here is that of Rufina Cambyses, a young woman who was mistakenly buried alive. Visitors claim to hear her ghostly screams echo through the cemetery, forever reliving the nightmare of her premature burial. 4. Greyfriars Kirkyard, Edinburgh, Scotland. Greyfriars Kirkyard is the final resting place for many famous Scots, but it is most known for its malevolent spirit, George Mackenzie. Nicknamed Bloody Mackenzie, this 17th-century judge is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of Covenanters, a group of religious dissidents. His mausoleum is said to be cursed, and numerous visitors have experienced physical attacks, scratches, and fainting spells when near his grave. Greyfriars is also home to the famous Greyfriars Bobby, the loyal dog who guarded his master's grave for 14 years. Despite the touching story, the cemetery's darker spirits often overshadow Bobby's tale. 5. Bonaventure Cemetery, Savannah, USA. Savannah is often considered one of the most haunted cities in America, and Bonaventure Cemetery contributes to that reputation. Famous for its Southern Gothic beauty, it's also home to the spirit of Gracie Watson, a young girl who died of pneumonia in 1889. Her life-size statue, which marks her grave, is said to cry tears of blood, and visitors have reported hearing the eerie laughter of a little girl near her tomb. 6. Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, Illinois, USA. Bachelor's Grove Cemetery is a small, abandoned cemetery with a big reputation for ghostly activity. It has been the site of over 100 reported paranormal occurrences, including sightings of glowing orbs, shadowy figures, and even a phantom farmhouse that appears and disappears at random. The most famous apparition is the White Lady, who is often seen sitting on a tombstone, cradling an infant. 7. Old Jewish Cemetery, Prague, Czech Republic. The Old Jewish Cemetery is one of the oldest in Europe, with graves dating back to the 15th century. Due to space constraints, bodies were often buried on top of one another, with some graves having up to 12 layers. It's said that the restless spirits of those buried here roam the cemetery at night, disturbed by the overcrowding and lack of peace in their afterlife. 8. Hollywood Forever Cemetery, Los Angeles, USA. Known as the resting place for many Hollywood stars, Hollywood Forever Cemetery is also home to its fair share of hauntings. The ghost of Rudolph Valentino, the silent film star, is said to wander the grounds. Visitors claim to see his apparition near his crypt, as well as strange shadows moving among the graves of other famous actors. This cemetery is proof that even in death, the stars of Hollywood continue to shine, albeit in a more ghostly light. 9. Glasnevin Cemetery, Dublin, Ireland. Ireland has a long history with the supernatural, and Glasnevin Cemetery is no exception. This graveyard is home to over 1 million souls, and with that comes a great deal of paranormal activity. There are reports of ghostly monks walking the grounds and mysterious lights flickering among the tombstones. One of the most chilling stories is that of a voice calling out visitors' names, only for them to turn around and find no one there. 10. Howard Street Cemetery, Salem, USA. Salem, the site of the infamous witch trials, is home to the Howard Street Cemetery, where Giles Corey, an accused witch, was pressed to death. Corey's ghost is said to appear before disasters strike in Salem, and he is often blamed for the town's misfortunes. His restless spirit continues to haunt the area, reminding us of the dark history of the witch trials. These haunted graveyards are not just places of history, but active reminders of the mysteries beyond the grave. Whether you're a believer in ghosts or a skeptic, there's no denying that these cemeteries hold stories that have yet to be fully understood. The next time you visit a graveyard, remember the words of Hamlet. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.